All right, what's good in the hood? Coming at you with another tier list video. This one, as 2026 rolls around, we'll be looking at fighters that desperately need a win in the new year. This will be ranking them as far as if they're on the chopping block when it comes to their job being on the line, all the way down to safe. But for now, let's jump right into it. I got a lot of fighters because there's a lot of fighters that are either on losing streaks or there is a real concern. All right. I'm gonna put Colby Covington. He's someone that you might have honestly forgot about since he has not fought. He didn't fight in 2025. His last fight was 2024 December. He does have a wrestling match January of actually in a few weeks against Luke Rockhold. But yeah, he's been pretty inactive. He's only on a 2-fight losing streak. But his last one was in 2022 against Jorge Masvidal, who's seemingly a mini Dana White at this point. So I put him away in concern because he's to a degree well liked by Dana at this point, well liked by Donald Trump, and yeah, I don't see him. And he's somehow, I think he's still in the rankings too in welterweight. Maybe they trimmed him out, but I think he's still in the top 15. So there's definitely concern because his aura has definitely gotten lost in the last few years due to inactivity and also just not having a relevant win. But I don't think he's close to losing his job, and I also feel like he might retire if he gets his shot at the White House. So, not terrible, but not great either. All right, moving on. I'm gonna put him at concern below, but he's probably gonna be at the higher end of concern, potentially even the bottom of the danger zone. So he's obviously on a 2-fight losing streak. He's lost 2 times this year. He lost the belt to JDM, and then he lost a competitive but clear loss to Ian Gary. There's concern definitely because, in this new Paramount era, which go check out my other video, UFC is a business, not a sport. He is by no means someone that's heavily marketable. I mean, yes, he has Palestine, good fan base for him, but unique fan base, but he's not the most entertaining in the octagon, even though he's been using his good old Canelo hands more and more. And he's a little on the older side, which doesn't help either. I think he's in his late 30s. So there's that too. So that's someone that they aren't going to have for the next, 5, 10 years. He's definitely at the tail end of his career. And welterweight's extremely stacked. So he's not super, even though he's probably still, I think, like top four, top five. He's obviously in that danger zone. If you lose one more, now you're, 3 losses, you're gonna get pushed into the top 10. And again, he doesn't have a lot of, I think, leverage when it comes to market value and whatnot, promotion value, this and that. And he's probably getting paid kind of well too. So definitely something that when they're gonna be trimming costs, they look at someone like him that he doesn't bring a lot of eyeballs. He's not entertaining. He carries a ranking, which then they could give to someone else. And then on top of it, he probably gets paid pretty good with whatever his current contract is because he's been in the UFC for a while now. I mean, a while. But let's move on as I have my notes on my other side. Let's see who should I look at? Jamal Sweet Dreams Hill, and I love me some Sweet Dreams Jamal Hill. He is on a, let's see, 3-fight losing streak. He lost the belt to Pereira back in 2024. Not good look, getting flash knockout. Yuri Prohaska, he lost to him in 2025 earlier in January, also by finish, and then he lost a 5-round decision to Clear Roundtree Jr. And on top of it, I believe he blew I think his knee out. So he got another injury, so he's gonna not be able to fight, I believe, until the tail end of 2026, which means he'll be out for over a year most likely. Not good for relevancy's sake, even though I believe he's still ranked around like top 7 maybe. Tapology has him as number 7, so he's still very much in the mix when it comes to light heavyweight. I think, especially if I predict right that Prayer is going to leave the division, it means it's going to be a little more wide open at the top. However, he's losing. He's already, like I said, he's lost to the current champ. He's lost to Yuri, who's like maybe the third best, and he lost to Clear Roundtree, who's already fought for the belt. I don't know. It just feels like he's slowly getting trickled down to that top 5, and then top 10, and then eventually top 15, which is not good. And the fact that he's getting finished 2 of his last 3, and he's gonna be inactive. It just feels like, I don't know. He's pushing that, like, you get into that Andre status, and next thing you know, it's like, you know, you're done. But I don't know. I think light heavyweight and heavyweight, they obviously have less of a roster size than some of the lower weight classes. So it's not the worst, and maybe on the lower end of the danger zone, but it's not the worst. Moving on, Adesanya. This one's not good. So I would say he's been a little more inactive. He's only fought like on average, what, once. He fought once in 2025, once in 2024. Obviously lost the belt in 2023 to Sean Strickland in a massive upset. Shout out to Stricky. But yeah, he's on a 3-fight losing streak, so this is unheard of for him. He had never been, I believe, back-to-back losses, and then he had back-to-back when he lost to DDP when he returned after a long hiatus, almost a year, to get an automatic one of his just like guaranteed, because he's one of the UFC boys. Dana loves him, so he got an automatic title shot coming off a loss, which is, while not unheard of, still bananas. He lost that by submission, which is not good. And then Imanov, the Frenchman, we'll never say his name right. Probably be a recurring theme on this channel. But yeah, Nasruddin finished him, which was really bad. So now he's been finished. Well, actually, he's been finished twice because of Pereira too. And then he's also been submitted by DDP. So he hasn't had a win since 2023, which the win is aged very well. Finishing Pereira like hard KO looks very good. So it's not like, that's what I'm saying. He's not like on the chopping block because A's a big name, very big name in his country and all that. And then on top of that, he was, I think, one of the biggest stars in the last 5 years. Legendary run with the belt, this and that. Tried to go for double champ status. So, I just think there's danger zone because when you're someone like him, it's just like it's almost like he's going down the path of his to a degree mentor, like Anderson Silva, his idol. Is just like you went on this legendary run, 10, 15, whatever fight wins in a row, 6, 7 title defenses, and now it just feels like you're losing to every guy that's on the cusp of getting the shot. He says he's gonna be trying to be a little more not focused on the belt, which is good. He doesn't need another title shot at this point, and he's gonna be focused on trying to like reinvent and kind of go back to like the ways that got him to the UFC in the first place, taking a little more risks, more fun, and I kind of like that. Maybe he can get a good win. Maybe, like I said, he's probably out of like title contention, but it's to say that he can't have some fun fights at middleweight. Him and MVP, I don't know. Maybe another him and Renier de Ritter. Like, there's fun fights. It's just, does he want to be fun or does he want a point fight? And it feels like he's leaning towards, I'm going to do this for entertainment purposes. I only have a few fights left probably in my career anyway. And I like it. It's just danger zone because if he loses, a few more, I mean, is there really any point of still, having him in the UFC? I don't know. Plus, he might just want to dip and do what everyone else does and just mosey on over to boxing and this and that and collect some easy paydays. All right, moving on. This is honorable mention, so safe for now. DDP, the man I just mentioned. By no means really any risk at all. I think it just goes down by the fact that he had probably one of the worst title fences or attempts at defending his belt ever. There's only one other guy, and at least recently, that had just of a bad, and we'll talk about in a sec. But yeah, DDP is in a real pickle because he lost pretty much almost every minute of that fight. He even got a few freebies where like the ref was like, "I'll just stand you up," which people are gonna have mixed opinions on that. Was that just to try to kill Hamzat? I don't know, but he still couldn't capitalize. He got a few shots in and got a takedown, and got mount, but at the end of the day, he lost, and it doesn't feel like there's any real. Even if he gets a rematch, and he earns it. Doesn't feel like he has any chance of being the current champ. So he's got to really come back with a dominant win, and B, show that he can actually wrestle and grapple, because clearly that was not in the training camp, and especially when it came to takedown defense and just general jiu-jitsu awareness. Could not get his guard, anything like that. Butterfly, nothing was there. He just was, yeah, he was just laid upon for 21 minutes. So very bad. And I also just mentioned that there's another man, the guy who probably had the second worst title defense, JDM. These boys, like I said, very safe in the sense that they're still like the number one contenders respectfully of their divisions, but JDM is in the same boat of, and probably worse off than DDP in the sense of he's so far from, I think, getting that rematch because he didn't look good at all. He got some shots in on Islam, but he was taken down a lot, ridden a lot, threatened with submissions here and there. And on top of it, there's a lot of looming welterweight contenders. You have some like Usman, who's an aging, former champ. They all seem like they're going to be more than likely going to fight for the belt, depending on how many times Islam fights again. So this year, and Islam probably will fight two. So it doesn't feel like JDM's getting back to that belt 2026, which means he's going to have to, and he fights, I think, a little more frequently than some of the others. So he's going to have to get like what, 2 wins over some of these really tough contenders, which it's a tall task, but clearly before he fought Islam, he was defeating everyone, even with some adversity here and there. So I think there's still good hope for him. But I mean, there's definitely a lot of eyeballs to see how he looks when he comes back. All right, moving on. One of our first men on the chopping block, Patchy Mix. I'll be frank, I wasn't fully aware of Patchy Mix. I'm not always following as much as I should, Bellator and the others, but he obviously had a lot of hype going in when he jumped ship, and he has yet to show what he's shown at Bellator. He showed a little more in his last fight with Jacoba Wicklax, but nonetheless, he still lost out on the scorecards. It was a decision that was split. A lot of people thought he should have won. Some people thought it was fair. Nonetheless, his loss to that, plus his loss to Mario Batista, which he looked terrible in. He's focusing more on his facial expressions than he was about actually moving his face from the punches. And now he's on an 0-2 skid. Sure, his record looks spiffy with a, let's see, what's his record? 20 and 3, it looks like. So sure, he has a great record overall, but in the UFC he's 0-2. He's not ranked. If he had won, probably to Batista, he would have been already in the top 10. Now he's unranked. Probably gonna have to fight another unranked guy like he just did in his last fight, some either a newcomer or just some sort of like vet, just to get on the win calling. But I feel like people always joke that Dana pulls the Bellator guys in just to make it look like the UFC is the cream of the crop, which it is, and all the other promotions, champions and otherwise, they're second to none. So, well, I didn't say second to none, they're crap, and I feel like he was a textbook example of that. And it's not even like he got. I mean, I guess maybe in hindsight it was unfavorable matches, but I think most people were picking him to beat Batista, especially with the odds. But I feel like if he gets that third loss, yeah, Dana's probably, and he's probably on a decent contract. I bet you negotiate something good, especially with bantamweight being a hot division. And yeah, if he gets one more loss, that's 0-3. Like UFC could easily be like, we're gonna cut you. We're not worried about you going to another promotion because you already left one of the biggest ones outside of the UFC. Go kick sand, and if you really want, go to the regionals or whatever it is and collect a few wins, and then maybe we'll bring you back on the contender series. So he needs a win, and I think he needs a win, a really good win, or else he's in the pickle. All right, moving on. Chandler, I'm gonna put him in the lower end of the danger zone. He's a special case, I think. If you know, you know. Dana White privilege. Chandler's in a weird position as I pull up his stats. Is that he hasn't won in ages, and that's also because he decided, hey, I'm gonna wait till the Conor McGregor fight, which I get. If you think you're gonna fight Conor, then you should wait for Conor. But let's see, MMA. He hasn't won since his defeat when he defeated Tony, and that was in 2022. And then he's only fought 3 times since. Lost to Dustin, now retired. Took almost 2 years, 2 years off. Fought Charles, hopefully to get title contention. Lost that 5 rounds clean, and then lost to Patty pretty badly. Got finished by Patty in the third round. So he hasn't won since 2022, and that win doesn't really age well because Tony's now going into like boxing. So before that, his last one was Dan Hooker when he debuted in 2021. So he has 2 wins in the UFC, and one guy's essentially retired from MMA. It's not good. The upside is he still seems to be the front runner for Conor McGregor, which obviously is a winnable fight, I would say, for him, regardless of weight class, and B, it just shows that the UFC still seems to value his name, his marketability, this and that. Which, yeah, he's a big name and he does put on entertaining fights. But unlike someone that he's fought before, like Justin, who puts on entertaining fights, Justin actually gets wins most of the time. Chandler does not. Chandler seems like his chin is deteriorating more and more. He seems to be more skeptical of bleeding faster and faster. Like, it just feels like he's in the danger zone because outside this Conor fight that he's still not guaranteed, because if Conor doesn't return, well, then he's got to go fight some contender. And that's the problem, is a lot of these lightweight guys, even the bottom end of the top 15, they're probably gonna beat him. And once he gets out of the top 15, there's no point in paying this guy unless he wants to be some sort of like gatekeeper esque character. And I don't even know if he wants to do that. I feel like he'll just skedaddle and go do motivational speeches like with his kids, like in Africa or something. I don't know. I mean, I was a big fan of him, but it just feels like it's the zest is gone with Chandler unless he can collect some of it back with a Connor fight. But you're just playing with fire if you can get Connor back in the ring. I mean, I think Connor's gonna come back, but it doesn't even guarantee that Chandler's gonna get that match. All right, moving on. Giga. Maybe I'll put him at the I don't know, bottom, top. We'll say bottom of the danger zone. I think anyone that has 3 losses in a row, it's definitely upper end concern, lower danger zone. On top of it, he just got spinning back fist with elbows. What was that? As recently as like 3 weeks, 2 weeks ago. It just feels bad. I mean, and then he has 3 losses in a row. So he hasn't won because of some cancellations since August of 2023, which always sounds looming. I believe he's still hovering around the rankings. He's 21 out of 80 on Tapology, so he might be like very bottom end of the rankings, if not right outside the top 15. I think I don't know. Just whenever you have 3 losses in a row, he's 8-4 in the UFC, so not bad. And he's entertaining. It just feels like you're looking at his overall record. It's like he's lost 4 of his last 5. Like I don't know, and the weight class is very very competitive. I would say featherweight definitely one of the tougher weight classes, and yeah, I don't know. I think it's just something that he doesn't have like a very very big name, and he's essentially unranked slash ranked category in a division that's arguably the most full outside probably lightweight. So yeah, there's definitely some concern. We'll put him at upper just because I think he's very entertaining, unlike something like Bilal. Moving on, Vittori. Marvin Vittori. I think he probably has like the worst losing streak out of all these fellas. Actually, not as bad as I thought. He's lost 3 in a row, and he just lost to Bruno Ferreira December, and he just like honestly looked pretty like shit, shit for lack of better words. Was not pushing the urgency when he was down on the scorecards, which is crazy when your coach is really saying more output. Does not put out the output. But yeah, he's lost. Was it 3, 4? Was it 4, 5 of his last 7? 7 of his last or 6 of his last 8, 9. Like, yeah, I mean, he has actually no. I'm looking at whoopsies. I'm including grappling. MMA, he's lost 4, 5 of his last 6, 6 of his last 8. I mean, his last win was 2023 against Roman Dolidze, and before that he beat Paulo Costa. But those wins aren't even that like arguably good. I mean, Paul barely fights. Roman just himself has come off a bad loss recently, so and he lost to Roman in the rematch like this year in March. Like he fights frequently, I'll give it to him. He fought 3 times in 2025 after only fighting once in 2024. But he personally, I feel like just looks worse and worse. And while his chin seems to just never deteriorate, the moment that thing goes away and he can't put on banger fights because he can't take on those those cracks anymore, he's a don. He's a goner. And the thing is, he's already fought for the belt, and he's had what 18 matches in the UFC, 8 and 1 draw. He's another guy where I think they're gonna be trying to trim costs. And sure, he's a big name in Italy, the Italian dream, woo. But yeah, like he's no longer a contender. He can't even fight guys that well. They're unranked. Like he's not the most entertaining. He's mainly entertaining just because he can take a crack. But there's other guys that can take a crack and actually give it. I don't know. I feel like at this point, he's on borrowed time. Whatever contract he's excuse me, gassy today. Whatever contract he's on, that's probably gonna be his last one, and they might just trim the fat if he has like 2 or 3 left and he loses another one and his chin blows up. I don't know. It just feels like he should probably just retire at this point anyway. He's probably hopefully made enough money, this and that. There's not much more point in staying around. All right. He's not even in the UFC, so I have to put him in the green zone, but I just had to do a special shout out for Mr. Woodley. Woodley is taking the path that Tony Ferguson took. He had like 5 losses in a row in the UFC, skedaddled, left MMA, went to well, he's trying to do GFL, but GFL never spawned, so we never got to see like Halo Woodley. So then he went and he's lost what two? He's lost 3 fights now in boxing. He lost Jake Paul twice with a bad knockout, and then he just got finished by Silva. So he's lost like 8 so like he tried to copy Tony, but unlike Tony, he can't box. Not that well at least. And it seems like his chin is even more gone than Tony's is. So yeah, I just want to do a special shout because I feel bad for Woodley. Left on it was a pretty upper tier welterweight when it came to the GOAT list while the run he was on, and then lost like 5 in a row, a couple finishes, and now he's getting finished by a 50-year-old Anderson Silva. So it's a stinker, but he's not in the chopping block in the sense that it seems like he's an over reliable to do short notice fights whenever some boxing guy needs someone within a week's notice, and he can just appear with his dude wipes pants. All right, moving on. Tied to Avasa. I kind of want to put him on the chopping block, but I don't think they would actually cut him. But it's interesting because because I was building this list, I think he has arguably like the crappiest streak right now. And thankfully, he's got a fight booked against Telson Teixeira like January 31st on that big, was it the second pay per view for the Paramount era? And I believe as I poked out in one of my videos, he technically looks like he's on the main card too, and he's still ranked. He's like somehow top 15 in heavyweight. But yeah, he's lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 losses. Hasn't won since February 2022, and it was against Derek Lewis, so it's still aging okay because Derek's hovering above him in the rankings. But yeah, finished. He's got finished 1, 2, 3, 4. He got finished 4 times, and then he lost a split decision to Rosenstrike, who's not even in the UFC anymore. It's not good. Like when you lose that many times, and sure, I've said heavyweight's one of those ones where I feel like they always need the names. They always need just fighters on the roster. And he's a big name down under his shoey business, this and that. But at the end of the day, he's a fat man. And he seems to be hopefully on the track to actually lose that weight. But he's a fat man. He can strike. He can scrap. But at the end of the day, I feel like he misses out on some of that raw skill set, especially when you get submitted by. Sure, Volkov's a great jiu-jitsu guy, but like you're getting submitted by Volkov. Like, what are we doing? He got submitted, just get Ezekiel choke. Like it just felt like he gets taken down and he's just fucked. Pardon my French. Please don't kill me, YouTube. But yeah, I don't know. It's weird because he has the markability, so there's like that, but he gets paid well and he doesn't win fights. um, and he's like, I don't know. He's been in some wars too, so it's not even like he's like, oh, you lost here and there, you lost some split decisions, you didn't take a lot of damage. Like he's taking damage. He's getting older. They pay him probably pretty well too. Heavyweights, I feel like get paid a little more than the smaller guys. 16 fights in the UFC, so yeah, he's probably on a decent contract. Was he 30? Actually, he's 32, so he's not that for UFC or heavyweight standard. Actually, he's like should have another 78 years, like someone like Derek Lewis is. But I don't know. Do I think they would cut him? No, but I think if he's fighting active, he loses like 2 more in a row, and one of them's by finish no less. They might cut him. They might, like I said, it just comes back to this whole mentality of, trimming costs. Like, he's not a danger for them to go to another, whatever, boxing or this and that. Like, they can find other guys down under with belly tattoos and have a little bit of fluff that are willing to just throw for the sake of throwing punches. All right, moving on. Who do we have next? This man is, I think, bottom of the danger zone. He's funny because I think he has like one of the most split decision losses in like UFC history. And when I say split, some of them like he'll end up losing unanimously, but like they'll still say it's a massive robbery. Like he'll get 1 out of the 2 rounds or out of the 3 rounds or whatever. But like afterwards, you'll go in like MMA verdict or something, and it'll be like fans will think he won. But they're always so close, which is the problem with this guy. This guy is like a slow starter. He's no longer fighting for the belt, so it's like, well, he only fought for the belt once. So the problem is like, oh, so you're always fighting these 3 rounders. You're slow. You're entertained, but you're slow. So you always lose a round guaranteed. Like, yeah, Zahabi, split decision. Davis Figueiredo, he's lost 2, and then he lost to Sean. But he kind of shouldn't have gotten that belt shot. So because of his last 5, he's lost 4 of them. 2 of them by split. The Sean wasn't the best either. His last one was Pedro Munez. Mun- Munez. I can't say that man's name. I love Pedro, great guy, but very entertaining. But yeah, he hasn't fought recently, like or hasn't won recently. It's been over 2 years since he's won in a pretty competitive weight class in bantamweight. And it just feels like it's one of those things where like it's almost like frustrating for the UFC probably to see a guy like him that he is entertaining. He has a really impenetrable chin. Go look up that knee he took from Sean, but it's just like he comes off very slow in the fight, and he's always like bitching essentially like when he loses these, which some of them, like I said, he should be complaining, but it's also like you're not putting in you're not as a fighter, you should be pushing the pace more if you know you're in a 3 rounder and you probably lost a round because you didn't do any output. You were just stalking the guy forward, trying to look tough, which is what you did as a hobby at times. And it's like, cool, you push your chin on his nose because you're angry, but you lost the fight split because the hobby actually threw punches. I don't know. He's definitely on the lower end of the danger zone because like he's still like a name. He has like a million plus, I think, followers on Instagram. He's still ranked and he can still put on some entertaining fights because he's not afraid to test that never been finished chin. So he's in that record book similar to Vittori. But yeah, I don't know. It's just one of the things where like he needs to get like 1 or 2 good wins in a row. I think just to stay in the rankings and also just stay relevant in a division that, like I said, some of these lower ones like bantamweight, they've been popping in recent years, and it feels like that title shot feels like ions ago. Moving on. I have a few left, so bear with me. Let's see. We're gonna look at Burns. Burns. I put him in like he's just in that zone like where he's lost 4 in a row, but they're all to really good opposition. He lost to Bilal, former champ, JDM, former champ, and he was winning the fight against JDM before he got finished by a nasty knee. Sean Brady was pretty bad. I don't know if that was a main event or not. It might have been. I think it was 5 rounds. Yeah, he lost 5 rounds. Like 4 out of the 5 rounds, maybe. And then he lost to Michael Morales May first round. But Michael Morales did that to Sean Brady. So it's like he's losing all these guys. Like Morales is pretty much on the title shot. Sean Brady was on the title shot where he lost to Morales himself. So he's still hovering around like 6 or 7 in the rankings. JDM is like number 1 in the rankings. Bilal is like probably 3 or 4. So in principle, yeah, he really shouldn't scoff about his position. And he's probably still to a degree ranked. I want to say he's ranked in the top 15. Don't quote me on all this. I'm limited on my tabs right now. I'm using Tapology, and they have him set at 55 out of 79, which is bananas. Also, he has 24 fights in the UFC, so probably getting paid well. Again, I don't want to harp on it, but he's a big name, but he's also definitely past the hill. When like his peak was probably gone after his losses to Usman and the war with Hamza. He definitely lost a lot of just the ability to take damage in this and that, and just the general fighter in him. Those wars were nasty, and yeah, it just feels like he's in a stacked division. Hasn't won in ages. He hasn't won in over 2.5 years. Yeah, he's entertaining, but again, it's just something where you lose 5 in a row, 6 round. There's very few guys that get past that 5 or 6 that aren't like mega legends, like a BJ Penn or a Tony. Like at that point, they would probably tell them like, "Hey, if you really need the money, you really need to get some fight out of you. Go do striking and like I said, boxing or whatever." Like he definitely has connections. He can probably figure out a way to do it, but there's just not much point, especially in a division where he is so far. I think from getting back to even like that top of the rankings. Seems like he just lost to 4 of them. But yeah, he could probably go if he really wants the Neil Magny route, and he could still kill off a lot of these prospects with his grappling and to a degree power in his hands that he still possesses. I don't know. It's tricky. Jan. Put him in the danger zone, but he's also like, I don't know. I think bottom of the danger zone, upper end of the concern. Sure, he hasn't won in ages, but he's got a funny record because he last beat Alexander Rakic, and that was a leg injury, so asterisk. But he won 2022 though, so again, we're talking now 3.5 years. But he's also been active. He fought 2 times in 2022, 1 time in 2023, lost to Pereira in his debut, which feels didn't feel like that far ago. Um, didn't fight in 2024 because of a canceled bout. And then he fought twice in 2025. So he was trying to pick up his activity. I believe he had an injured shoulder he got surgery on. But you look at his record, he hasn't won, like I said, since the Rakic fight. Of his last five, even six, if you include his uh, title loss to Glover Teixeira, he's lost three of his last six. He's had two decisions, or was it draws, and then he has one win. So on principle, yeah, it doesn't look good. His last one, like I said, he won two out of his three rounds, but gave up a 10-8 to Bogdanov Gustav. So yeah, he eluded a win there, and then obviously took a draw, a decision split to Magadev Ankalaev back in 2022 too. But that again feels like ages ago. Like this guy has not had a win. He's feeling really old. Is it like 41? I think 42 maybe. He is 42, which again, light heavyweight still has the excuse heavyweight has, which is like you can kind of cheat a little bit. You know, you're older, but you still carry power, which he does. He has a good, like I said, jujitsu base, decent wrestling, so and very good kickboxing. Obviously, that's his background. So still can be competitive, but I don't know. It's just one of those things where he's been around a while. So, and again, we go back to money. He's getting paid a lot. 22 fights in the UFC. I feel like they, excuse me, gassy. Don't quote me on it, but I think they definitely pay a little more again on these bigger guys, you know, the danger factor and all that. And like I said, he can still finish guys, and he looked very good in his last fight, other than getting 10-8 in the after getting tremendously hurt in the round two. But he came back and nearly finished the guy in round three. But there's just the danger zone too of just like if you have not won since what 3 years of worth of new fans, and especially with the Paramount era, so it's like one of those things where he is so like unrelevant from when he won his belt, 3 plus years ago. That yeah, there's super concern of just these new fans. Like, I mean, yeah, you can market some of his old stuff, but it's just like, brother, you're old too, so they have to recognize like you're only even at the light heavyweight, you only have maybe 2-3 years max. You're 45, like yeah, you're not heavyweight. Yeah, you're they don't need a guy at 45 hovering at like the top 15 that could actually kill off prospects. So that is actually the reverse danger too. Is like they're trying to build up a division like light heavyweights. It's not the weakest, but it's not the strongest. So I don't know. It's tricky. Moving on. Let's see. We only have a few left. Wonder Boy, Wonder Boy, Wonder Boy, Wonder Boy. Um, I was probably concerned. Why did I say concern? Because I feel like he's lost three in a row, and he hasn't won since 2022 due to canceled fights. Kevin Holland was his last win. But his losses were to Shavkat, which he didn't look good, but he's never the best when it comes to guys that can grapple. And Shavkat was able to grapple and just submit him pretty quickly in round two. Joaquin Buckley, he was winning that fight until the third round when he got cracked. So I feel bad for him there because he probably was going to win that. Like I said, if he had just continued his game, was piecing him up to a degree on the feet, at least outstriking total numbers wise. And then he lost to Gabriel Bonfim. That if you want to go rewatch that fight, I thought he won that fight. He got taken down the snap, was out grappled, but I think he did better on the feet, did more damage, if I recall correctly. And it was a real bummer. Like I said, split decision. He's on the older side. He's like 42 at welterweight, but he still looks actually pretty slower, but still fast enough to hang at that weight class. But he's been through some wars, 22 fights in the UFC. He's already fought for the belt twice. The reason I only put him at concern is because I think he's one of those more unique point style karate style fighters that he brings a lot of unique I think audience to that they want to keep him around. And there's still a lot of good fights I think he can have. Good old MVP if they ever allow that, although maybe it'll be a dud, who knows. And yeah, I don't know. I think he brings just enough value that they can keep him around at least for another handful of fights. He doesn't put on stinkers, and he still is not regressed enough where they can just pull your old card. Oop, there's my can popping. So yeah, he's someone that maybe in hindsight I should have moved a little bit. And I guess I can. I have the power to, but it is what it is. I'm gonna trim some fat and go to the last, my man, Leon Edwards. He's not like I save him for last. He's probably not. He's definitely not like the worst when it comes to chopping block. So I'll put him in the middle. Probably we'll put him in the middle. But in some ways, he is. I think the reason why I made this video in the first place. Why you might ask? Because he is going down a path that I think mirrors a few other legends and this and that people that have reached the highs of highs, and now are starting to feel what it's like to be on the bottoms of bottoms, the bottoms of bottoms. Leon Edwards, he's a champion. He had one of the biggest upsets, viral moments, headshot dead, boom, bang, and now he's been submitted for the first time. He's been finished by strikes for the first time. He was dominated really badly when he lost his belt to Bilal. Has been active, but yeah, Bilal he lost to in July of last year. Then he lost to Sean, coming back, and it was built around, it's in the UK, this and that. And he lost in the main event from his hometown crowd. 4 rounds of domination before getting choked out. Well, he didn't get choked, he tapped like a beach. But yeah, he tapped. And then he goes out and he tries to take on Carlos Prates again. I think a fight that was winnable, especially if it was on like. Well, it was funny because he actually went for the grappling because maybe he was a little afraid of Carlos's power, and lo and behold, he gets finished pretty badly. A lot of memes out of that, but it just feels like he went from such a high of you beat Usman back to back and you finish Usman, you get a title defense. So it feels like all right, his only loss up until then was Usman. I think in the UFC, right? In the UFC, he is 14-5. So up until then, he had a loss to Usman and then some loss to like a Claudio Silva. So I'll be frank, I don't even know Claudio, and that was back in 2014. So he had been on a lengthy. He hadn't lost since his Usman fight in 2015. So he was 9 years of being undefeated in the UFC, and then boom, you lose to Bilal. 5 rounds of domination to a degree. Not good, but Bilal at the time looked really good and still looks good. So it was like, all right, it is what it is. Like he's stylistically not the best matchup for you. But then you lose to Sean Brady very convincingly in your home crowd. So that hurts her, I think, incredibly. Never looks good when you go to your home. They build a whole card around a fight night, but they still build around you, and then you let them down. It doesn't. You don't even look good in the fight. And then to go out and just get actually KO'd like pretty badly against a guy that's, I don't want to say up and coming, but he was still a prospect. He was, he needed a big win. You gave him the big win. And now it feels like Leon, he's probably pushing to 10 around bottom of the rankings of like outside 10, like maybe he's still probably ranked like I think like 9 or 8 or something, but it's like where does he go from here? And I put him on the chopping block. Like I don't think he'd actually get cut, but he's been fighting actively where I feel like he's gonna get handed some tough prospect, um, or two, whatever, if he fights twice in 2026. And it just feels like he's already achieved everything he needs, Chief. And it's like he's going down that path, as I allude to. He's going down the path that Tony went down, where it's just like you're just constantly chasing wins and they keep feeding you lesser and lesser competition with a few deadly ones like here and there. But for the most part, they're just trying to give you a win. And you show hope, but the fans keep being like, oh, he's still got it because he's going as good striking, or he shows some wrestling whereabouts here and there, but his chin just keeps getting cracked and more worn. Or in his case, he doesn't have that wrestling jujitsu whereabouts and he still gets dominated in that aspect. And then he gets older, and then people start to question, does he have the motivation because he's already achieved everything? He has a moment that transcends time with his headshot dead. I don't know. It just feels like it's something that it's, oh, and not even just 21st. And I was thinking Tyron Woodley, another welterweight. It just feels like Leon, I'm predicting he's going down this path that he's going to be on like a 5-fight losing streak by the end of 2026. And there's going to be no reason for him to be in the UFC anymore, both on his end and on the UFC's end. They don't want to pay him. They don't need him in the division anymore. He's done his good. And on Leon's side, he can maybe go fight like Tyron or something in a boxing fight. He's still got the striking capabilities. It's just a question of, do you really want to, do actual MMA? I don't know. That's my thoughts. I probably left a few out, so let me know in the comments. Subscribe, etc. Do all that good stuff. Keep my mornings nice with fresh comments to respond to. But yeah, let me know any fighters I missed because I know I left a few out to test you There's at least 2 I left out. And let me know if there's any fighters that you think need wins. They might not even be people that are on a losing streak. They could be on someone that like a prospect on a win streak. Someone that needs to carry their momentum into 2026 with the new Paramount era. I can think of a few of those too, and I can throw them in the comments. But yeah, let me know, and I'll hear from you in the next video.